Finally, I have started reading Legendborn by Tracy Deon. I am 48 pages in. The story is interesting so far, but like just my issue with it is just like the writing. It's always usually the writing for me, apparently. It's very prose, it's very like prose. It's another story where I'm reading a black lead character in a predominantly white school. Ooh, girl. To be in a school with predominantly white people, that's a lot. That's a lot of energy to expend. I'm seeing love triangle set up here. I think Nick, that's who her babysitter. He isn't really her babysitter, but he's like her mentor. I don't know, guide. We haven't met him yet, but I get a sense that when we meet him, he's gonna be cute and he's gonna be like charming and she's gonna like him and he's gonna be like the PETA of the two guys because Selwyn is gonna be like the darkling because I know there's a love triangle coming. Okay, it's been long enough. I am 302 pages into the book. I think it came to about like 100 to 150 pages is when most of the world building, because a lot of it was like build up to the inciting incident, although technically a lot of the inciting incident kind of happened at the beginning, but a lot of the build up to like really going on this journey, it was happening within the like first 150 pages, but it was also like interspersed with a lot of world building. I was trying to get into the world building, but I was kind of like not into it. The world building, she's dragging me down right now. Maybe it's because I'm familiar with like King Authur and Camelot. I kind of don't care. Girl, I don't care. Whereas like when it comes to like the parts where it's black women and black people just like doing stuff, but it's mainly black women handling business and doing their thing, I was just more intrigued. Some highlights for me. I loved the connection and camaraderie between Alice and Bree. The moment when they were just chit-chatting and talking about like, you like this boy Nick, who is he, what's he about, da, da, da. And then when she had to talk to her father on the phone and her father was like, what are you doing, Bree, da, 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 you know, chewing her out. But then it's like he came back and he was showing her love and he was like, I got you a therapist. I love those beautiful moments, like moment of connection and family. Another thing that I loved was Bree, how she took care of her hair and how she has to take care of herself as a black woman, as a black girl. I'm enjoying that there are queer characters. I just found out that Will is another queer character. I would like to know a little bit more about him and his relationship because that sounded interesting and kind of juicy. Patricia, the introduction and meeting Patricia and going on the root walk, or is it a root walk or a spirit walk? The past lives and all that. That was so fascinating. Like I was so enthralled with that. It made me wonder like, did I just really, really want to read more about a bunch of black people coming together to do things that black people gotta do? Also, another thing I realized with this book is that this is kind of analogous to the discourse that people have had on Twitter and just, I don't know, on the internet and spaces, all kinds of places where they talk about like being a black person or a person of color, but mainly a black person in a PWI. And I feel like it's happening on multiple levels. She's a part of a secret society that's been primarily predominantly white. And she's kind of like the first black person in a long time that's been there, or maybe the first black person ever, because I haven't gotten a confirmation on that. I just know that they've kind of brought it up. They haven't made such a big deal about her being black as if like this is the first time we ever had somebody black. And maybe that is because the times have changed where it's just like, oh, it would make sense that we would progress with time and include black people within our secret society, just like the rest of the world is being a lot more inclusive of people of color, especially black people. But is she like the first black person in a long time? And what's happened to the previous black people that have been there? Are they alumni? Did you kill them off? With Bree having time to fellowship with Patricia and another black woman, and after being so inundated in a school that is predominantly white, and now in a friend group and a secret society that is predominantly white. And she was talking about like how refreshing it was to just be like back in spaces with black people and with black women, to be like a black person in a predominantly white space, navigating that, the microaggressions that you have to deal with, the subtle racism, and sometimes the somewhat slightly more overt racism that isn't necessarily like directly calling you the N-word, but where it's just like, I'm letting you know that I see that you're black in this space that is predominantly white, and I have an issue with that. But I'm not not gonna downright, outright tell you, you Negro, what are you doing here? How did you get in? Affirmative action? How do I feel about the writing? I'm getting a little bit more acclimated to writing, not hating it. I am getting accustomed to the characters. I get it. Nick is like supposed to be like a thing. He's supposed to be hot, but it's just, I don't know. He just seems so, I don't know. He seemed mad regular. He seemed mad basic. Like, he don't seem like popping. He doesn't seem that interesting to me. Nick is just coming across so lackluster and boring. Like, my proverbial pussy is not getting wet. Like she's just not. Cell is interesting-ish, I guess. The enemies part is like going away, and now they're starting to like become a little bit more friendly, I guess. I don't know. They just had a moment where they had to spend a lot of time with each other, so it's kind of building up their relationship so that they're less enemies now, a little bit more friendly, to the point that their friendliness becomes lovers. And I see it coming. I see their love triangle happening. I guess Nick is still gonna be endgame, but girl, I mean, he's a better option because he's well off. He's got money. You think he looks good. He's got a body. He's the king. So it's all gonna work out. Like, girl, you picking the right guy, not the side dude. I mean, maybe you could, like, you know, smash the side dude real quick before y'all get married or whatever, but at the end of the day, Nick is endgame because, you know, the benefits are just, they outweigh what you could get from Selwyn. Besides, Selwyn's kind of an asshole, so why would we? You know what I'm saying? I am looking forward to seeing where the story goes and how it ends, and I guess how it leads into the second book, because I'm still holding out for, like, do I really want to read that second book? I don't know, child. I'm feeling like I'm not gonna read it. I'm not gonna want to read it at the end. I might hold off till like the third book and then probably pick up Bloodmarked and whatever the name of the third book is. Is this a duology or a trilogy? I'm unsure. I do want to know what happened to her mother. I do want to know, were they a Merlin or a Morganite who was casting that spell on her and her father in the police station? I want to know how the root work, the root magic stuff and all that stuff interplays with the Aether. I love that aspect of the world building. The root magic and the Aether magic, like how those are interacting with the world and how they're kind of interacting compared to each other, and the different sides and different sectors where it's like black people have a different way of dealing with magic and white people have a different way of dealing with magic and its consequences. And then I also want to know about this baby, the baby with the Shadowborn eyes. I don't know. I want to know about more about, like, who's the baby? Is it like Selwyn's cells? And that's something I'm kind of not enjoying. I get it. It's a characteristic of the book that people's names are going to be shortened to like these 3-letter words like Tor, Cell, and I don't know, everybody's getting their little nicknames. I'm going along with it, but I'm also kind of annoyed by it. Like, but whatever. But anyway, I just want to know if that Shadowborn baby is Cell's family, that's his ancestors. Was that baby really a bad thing, or was that just what they thought and interpreted at the time, but come to realize later on that, like, no, they were wrong and this kid was not bad? I don't know. We'll see. And this story also kind of reminds me of like one of like those paranormal shows, like a Buffy or something. I would love to see this adapted as one of those kind of shows. The next time we talk, I will finish this book, but I still got a few pages. I still got a lot of pages. This is a 500-page book, child. I was kind of a little annoyed that it's like a 500-page book because it's taking me a little longer to read it than the book I read before this. One more video. So I'm done with Legendborn by Tracy Deon. Overall, I did enjoy it. It kept a really good pace. It was never like laggy, boring. Just the writing might have been a little draining for me, but it never objectively as a story was this boring, lame thing. Even when there's world building, it's never, the story just utterly stalled just to give us all this goddamn world building. The world building was kind of like integrated into it. I just don't know if I'm going to read the second book. It had some aspects that I loved. I loved the root craft and stuff like that, but I feel like the Arthur, King Authur, Camelot, Knights of the Round Table, all that stuff, like, I'm not fully invested in it. I do love the aspects of, it's like social commentary integrated into this fantasy, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna read the second book. Maybe. I'm curious to see if there's gonna be like a love triangle and how this love triangle is gonna play itself out. I kind of don't care about her love interest that much to be like, go for this one or go for that one. But I do want to see how this love triangle plays out. Like, it seems super intriguing for me because I like how Tracy Deon handled this love triangle. Thank you for spending your time with me. I am out this bitch like Fleek. Shout out to Peaches. Thank you, girl.